So here we are for episode number, hold on, let me count. Six. He kept track. 6 of Let's Talk Movies, which are now being posted live on YouTube to the great, critics are raving about the episodes.
Critics are raving about our critical analysis.
Yes, and audiences are just in awe. Our likes are through the roof. I can't even handle how many, we have so many subscribers at that point that it's actually breaking the algorithm. I've been in contact with YouTube and Google trying to sort out the technical difficulties of having so many people watch on one platform. It's a heavy burden to bear, for a new content creator. But we're getting through it pretty good. And it's a bold move to, hold on a second. It's a bold move to get another episode on there already, to strain the technology even further, but we're just that bold. We're going to go ahead and try it because we're that cool and we're that good at YouTubing. So anyway, this week we watched 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi, starring the guy from The Office,
John Krasinski.
And you can see the little montage playing behind us. We haven't had a montage behind us since Downfall, which was actually just one video ago.
The last one was just Mel Gibson's face.
Yep, which I'm sure that everyone enjoyed.
Yeah.
You can just, instead of watching us talk, you can just click on it and mute it and look at Mel Gibson's face for a whole hour. But anyhow, this is the first, I think you could categorize this as a historical movie in the sense that this actually happened.
Yeah, it did.
But also, this is the first movie that happened within our time.
Yep.
Everyone was born. I was born before through 2012. I can remember when this happened. Actually, I think I was 8. Does that make sense?
7.
Yeah, that does make
You would have
sense.
been 7.
I would have been 7. He did the math faster than I did.
I would have been 7. Yeah, we would have been.
You better see. Look, I got a 19 on my ACT math. I'm really bad at math. Anyhow, we decided to watch this movie today. There's no guest today, as you might have noticed. The pizzazz has sort of gone. Gavin is. Well, we actually tried to wrangle Gavin in, but he proves hard to wrangle sometimes.
Yes, we've had to postpone our review of Gladiator a later date, but it will be coming, and we will have Gavin back and possibly Grant as well.
Oh, and shameless self-promotion here. I was just in the play. The Pilgrim's Progress with the Logos Theater, which is going to be posted as well by the Logos Theater. So go watch me play Worldly Wise Man.
He's very good.
Play. Thank you. I appreciate that. And so that was a lot of fun.
It's also quite funny.
Yeah, it was. I always get slated for funny characters for some reason.
He's like a funny villain.
That's exactly the last 3 performances I've done with the Logos Theater. They've made me funny villains, which is I don't know why, but maybe just because I'm a funny villain. Who knows? But anyway, getting off track here, John, set us up.
All right, this movie was directed by the one and the only Michael Bay. But it's actually a good movie. It's good.
I didn't realize that Michael Bay had made this movie until the end, and I was like, no, I've been tricked. I watched a Michael Bay movie.
Oh my word! But it's actually a good one. His only good movie besides The Rock. For those of you out there who have seen that, it was written by Chuck Hogan. He adapted it from the book 13 Hours. I believe it's subtitled "What Really Happened in Benghazi." It was also produced by Michael Bay, among others. So yeah, this movie came out in 2016, so that would have been 4 years after the actual event took place. And so yeah, it's about the September 11th, 2012 attack on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi by Islamic militants. They successfully raided the consulate, which was basically this big mansion where this ambassador was staying temporarily in Libya, which is in North Africa. And they successfully raided the compound, and they killed the ambassador and the tech dude that was there. I believe his name was Sean Smith. Fortunately, he was just playing video games earlier in the day. It was really sad. But fortunately, only less than a mile away was a CIA base where these
secret
CIA base where these 6 military contractors who were ex-Navy SEALs and ex-Army Special Rangers.
They said that 3 of them were ex-Marines.
Yeah, a few of them I think were ex-Marines as well.
I get the Marines have a reputation for being super good at fighting, but like also I don't think they're supposed to be as good as Army Rangers and Navy SEAls.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
So anyway, these guys were fortunately only a mile away, and they were able to head on over and rescue the survivors of the attack, and then they took them all back to the CIA base where they held out. And fortunately, and the rest of the movie is essentially about their defense of the
Compound.
CIA compound.
That's right.
So yeah, that's how this movie sets up. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into the review. Nate, what's a positive for you on this movie?
This movie gives me Black Hawk Down vibes.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot. This is like Black Hawk Down, except not as hot. Like it doesn't look like it's as hot.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, but I guess it's because like all the characters are sweating and everything. But like,
Yeah.
that's stupid. I don't even know why I got that. Positive. It's fun to watch visually.
Yeah.
There's like, I should have known it was a Michael Bay movie because it was and boom.
I mean, we have to say this. Michael Bay does a lot of cheesy movies, like, Transformers and those type of movies, but he's good with the action. And we can talk about, as a positive.
I would actually disagree. The action in most Michael Bay movies is very bad.
Yeah, okay.
I would say. Now,
Okay. I haven't seen that many. I've only seen The Rock, Pearl Harbor, and in the first Transformers movie.
So if you've watched a lot of the Transformers movies, you'll know that the action that Michael Bay does looks like two, animated. It looks like a witch went to a dumpster, and animated all the parts together, and then made two trash giants, and then made them make out with each other. That's what it looks like. And so, if you don't believe me, go on YouTube and video, look up a random Transformer scene. You'll be like, what the heck is happening?
Yeah, but I mean, in this movie, he's known for action. I guess that's what you would say.
He is known
whether
for action.
you like it or
that
not.
That is an accurate statement.
And this movie is full of the action, but this will be one of my positives. He actually applies it to a real world event, and I think it works out better for him.
He does.
Anyway,
so
continuing.
I could do my signature positive and be like, it's historically accurate, but if I'm being really honest with you, I don't know much.
We'll have some thought. I have some thoughts on the historical accuracy.
I don't know much about the Big Galaxy attack other than the bare details that everyone knows who lived through it. This is my first educational experience with it, because it doesn't even say that it's based on a true story. It says this is a true story.
Yeah.
At the beginning. So the action is fun. That'll be my positive.
Okay, that's a big positive for you.
Yeah.
So a big positive for me is I love the directing of this movie. So I'm going to brag a little bit on Michael Bay. Woo! I know, it's a cardinal sin usually. Michael Bay, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. But
he's not.
I assume you're not. Anyway, the directing of this movie is actually, I think, pretty good. I think he does a very good job really orienting the viewer to all the different locations that are, he does a good job with his camera movements of letting the audience know all the different areas of the CIA base that they are defending, because they have all these different buildings that they are defending. And he also he uses shaky cam pretty well.
Too much,
yeah, it can be. It's a little. I will agree with that.
It was a little excessive.
Yes,
shaky cam.
But to an extent, it works, because in these action scenes, it's just the shaky cam all over the place, and it's cutting to these different guys firing.
Well, in the battle
weapons.
scenes, I get the shaky cam in the battle scenes. Don't get me wrong. You hardly even notice because it just goes with the overall feel. Yeah. But the problem is that he was using shaky cam early in the movie, so they were getting in a car, and I was like, man, you don't.
He uses it a bit too much, and it becomes a little bit disorienting.
Yeah,
because you kind of have to I had to close my eyes several times and reorient my eyes to the movie.
I didn't even have to do that. That's funny. But even mundane things, he's getting some coffee, and you're like, oh dang man, just keep the camera straight.
He does use a variety of wide shots throughout the movie. He also there's probably 50 shots in this movie that are that pan over the landscape, and I think they're actually pretty cool. It's just kind of cool landscape shots. I always like those.
As my second positive, this movie pays such good attention to detail that it's very immersive.
Yeah.
Nothing happened in this movie that ever broke my investment in it.
Yeah.
When you're and just like on a psychological note, when you watch a movie, you're kind of making a deal with it, where it's like, if you entertain me, I'm going to believe in you for a little bit. But the movie can go too far and break your belief in it, and that's when the movie and draws you out of the story, and that's a very bad thing to happen, and that's why attention to detail is important. And the attention to detail was there, and nothing ever happened, no detail where I was like, that broke my immersion. And I was fully invested in the story from beginning to end. So that is a good positive, I think.
Another positive for me would be I know we talked a little about the action, but specifically the combat, I think, is pretty well done. I think Michael Bay does a good job of kind of, you get to see a lot of the impacts. I mean, the sniper scenes are like really cool in this movie. You get to see the scope and like exactly who this guy's shooting at. And I think the combat scenes, which basically the second half of the movie is all one massive battle, basically, kind of like in Black Hawk Down. Yep. But he was saying, you get a lot of Black Hawk Down vibes, that's for sure. But that's a positive for me. The battle scene, the combat, the way he choreographs the combat scenes and the way he shows them is very well done to me. And I have another positive.
Okay,
unless you have another one.
Yeah,
I think the acting is actually.
I was literally gonna say that.
Okay.
No, you go.
Because I think the acting is pretty good in this movie.
Yeah,
I mean, John Krasinski. I mean, he's obviously known for his kind of comedic role in The Office. However, in this movie, he brings a real good dramatic presence to the movie. And he's done like The Quiet Place, so I mean, he's done some good dramatic stuff. But he's really good in this movie, and you get the aspect of his relationship with his family, and all of them, they like FaceTime their family every day, and you get a lot of scenes of that. But he especially does a good job of communicating kind of the deep layers that this character has, and how he's committed to his family back home, but he knows he has to be over here to help provide for that family. But at the same time, he just wants to get home. And actually, one of my favorite lines in the movie is at the end when they're like, we're not going to get any medals, and he's like, no, we get to go home. That's one of my favorite lines in the movie. So John Krasinski is very good in this movie.
Yeah, acting was going to be my other positive, so I'm going to go ahead and jump to negatives.
So you can piggyback on mine if you want.
So the audience knows I picked that also. Okay. You covered it pretty well. So number one negative I already talked about is the shaky cam was too excessive. I'm not talking about in the battle scenes. I'm talking about in the normal scenes where the shaky cam was applied.
He should not have used it there.
That wasn't necessary. Yeah. Number two negative is that, okay, so I get that they were trying to make the dialogue genuine, but the characters are very hard to hear.
Yes, I actually would. Yes, I would agree with that.
I get that
they speak.
Team guys are not the easiest. Like, they're rough around the edges, and they are like, I get that, and they were trying to capture that, but I couldn't hear anything they were saying.
It was kind of hard. Well, I think one of the problems, and this is a negative for me as well. It's not necessarily the dialogue. It's just like the way they delivered some of it is like too like I don't know if they just weren't seeing this in the editing room, but you just can't really hear what they're saying. They speak they speak so fastly, or they speak too quickly, or it's like they're just like whispering and you can't really hear. I mean, there's a few scenes where you can definitely hear what they're saying, like when they're kind of just chilling in between kind of the stints of the battle, and there's some good dialogue in those scenes, but I would definitely agree.
Well, the funny thing is that I actually could hear them better in the battle scenes because they were yelling.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I could hear them, and when they were just talking to each other, they'd just be like,
yeah. And then you also have a French, kind of a woman who is American, but she has kind of like a French accent or some kind of foreign accent. She was hard to understand. So yeah, and that's not, I mean, it was fine. They wanted that character to have an accent. I mean, she was probably a real person. So, but
Wait, did you just say she's probably a real? Oh, you meant like I thought you meant the actor. I was like, yeah, the actor.
Oh well, no, like I assumed that character.
Yeah,
was
I get what you mean
well.
by that. I was so confused for a second there. I know she was CGI. They didn't use a real actor.
But I do have one more positive. I think. This movie does a good job. This kind of piggybacks on my positive about the acting, but I think the soldiers in this movie they picked good actors to play the soldiers.
Okay,
I think
I
these
agree
guys
with that.
look like
Casting is
soldiers,
good.
you know? Like, the casting, that's the positive here. These guys look like these grizzled, like, ex-vets, you know? Or ex-soldiers that are now veterans that are
I
just
bet they
working
worked
as
out a lot
military
for this movie.
contractors.
I'm just saying that.
Yeah, I know. Well, there's several scenes in there where they are, like, just pulling tires on their back and stuff.
And
But
working
I
out.
think that the casting director did a really good job of getting guys that looked like soldiers. And honestly, John Krasinski, I would not have thought of him to be in this movie. But they got him. I mean, he looks like he looks like a military contractor in
He had
this
some
movie.
abs.
Yeah, like he got fit for the role. Like, not that he's not naturally fit, but I mean, he was a good casting choice as well. When I wouldn't have thought that he would have been. So, I think casting is really good in this
It's
movie.
like Christian Bale for The Dark Knight, even though he just
Yeah.
come off of American Psycho.
And
So
the
it's
well,
like,
the Machinist. He had come off the Machinist where he lost. Like, he was skinny as a beanpole.
yeah, and then they were like, we want that guy to
And then
be
he
Batman.
got gained like 100 pounds or something.
Yeah, if you ever-
Batman Begins.
If we ever do a Batman, like a Christopher Nolan Batman review, Noah will be on here, and he will be the only one talking the entire time.
Yes. Or
Just saying, he's watched
for
the
any
movie
Christopher
so
Nolan
many
movie.
times.
And we will hopefully
We gotta
do.
we gotta do a Christopher Nolan series.
Yes, but we
That would
also.
be
I
cool.
feel like a good one to start it with would be Oppenheimer because that's coming up.
Yeah.
And that's a historical movie
Yeah.
plus, so that'll
We-
fold
yeah,
up on
and
this.
so, but I feel
series.
like we could do like a playlist
Yeah.
with all of our Christopher Nolan movies.
Yeah, that would be fun.
That would be fun.
Anyway, my negative, in addition to the sound quality on the movie, especially specifically regarding the dialogue, another negative for me would just be, I feel like at the beginning there's a little bit of lag. At the beginning, I mean, it's setting up this what's going on in Libya, and there's a lot of subtitles and stuff at the beginning that tell you what's happening, like what the situation was like. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about specifically there's a scene where they like kind of hunt down. They're trying to, I guess, track down this spy guy, and this goes back to the dialogue. You cannot hear what they're saying. I didn't know what they were doing. But also, it takes, that mission goes on for a while. They get in this big chase, and the chase is cool. But it kind of just lags a little bit, and you're just waiting to get to, the inciting incident.
I almost
And so, the first third of the movie, I guess, is a little bit weaker than
I
this.
almost wish that we
Rest
could
of it.
rewatch it with subtitles.
Yeah, I would do that.
I would do that just to figure.
I think
out.
I have watched it with subtitles before with
makes
my grandmother,
sense.
and it was
That
much
makes sense.
easier to understand.
So and
So just
I
pacing a little.
liked the constant like time updates they would do.
Yes,
That
that
really
goes
help-
back to the detail of the movie is phenomenal.
Well, that helps you keep perspective because
Yeah.
a bunch of stuff would happen and it would like the time would show up and you would like realize, oh, that was just 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, they would have like a thing that would come up and say 9:59, and they'd have one that come up and say 10:03.
and you'd be like, they just fought like
But I
100
think,
dudes.
but I think that since they were going for a gritty, realistic, and accurate portrayal of what happened, I think it was a good decision to really allow the audience to understand. Okay, how many minutes have passed since
I think that's
this
an excellent decision.
happened?
So let's talk about themes.
Okay, yeah. Themes. You want to go first? What
Yeah,
do
you
you
go
think?
first.
Okay. So I think, the tagline of this movie is six. When everything went wrong, 6 men had the courage to do what was right. And so I think the theme of this movie is just doing the right thing, or one of the themes at least, is doing the right thing, even though not everybody around you wants to do that right thing as well.
Yes.
Because you have the CIA base chief does not want them to go in to try to attempt to rescue the ambassador and those people at the consulate. However, despite him, they go in.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they're not even technically supposed to, they don't even have to. It's not their job. They know that it's the right thing to do.
It
and
reminds
they do
me
it.
of the recent Afghanistan withdrawal,
Mhm.
under President Biden, where I've just read a lot of stories of these people, these special forces commanders, especially Green Berets, who have trained Afghan commandos
Mhm.
in order to help them, stabilize the country once we withdrew. And during the withdrawal, a lot of those Afghan commandos got caught behind lines, and all these special forces guys disobeyed orders to go back to.
Oh my!
save
Oh, just to piggyback on that, there's a new movie that just came out recently with
Kandahar?
Jake Gyllenhaal. That one I've not seen that one.
I've seen
but
Kandahar.
You have? Okay,
I
well
have.
I have seen The Covenant, and
Oh,
they're very similar in
they are.
plots
I
apparently.
wanted to see The Covenant.
The
so bad.
Covenant is literally that
Oh.
plot line right there. I don't know about Kandahar.
Kandahar is about this CIA agent who blows up a nuclear facility and has to
Okay.
escape the country, even though everybody knows he's there.
Okay, but he has. So The Covenant. I'm not going to spoil anything because go see it. It's a great movie. by Guy Ritchie.
Guy Ritchie's a better director than Michael Bay.
He is, yes. He's a big fan of Arthur, Legend of the Sword.
It's such a good movie.
Anyway,
You have to do that movie.
Yeah. But the Covenant's about this translator and his or the sergeant and his translator, and the translator kind of rescues the sergeant, and then the sergeant feels like he has this duty to go back and help rescue the translator. It's not it doesn't take place in 2021 like whenever they were pulling out, but he goes back and helps rescue the translator because he's kind of has they all have a vendetta against him because he helped the Americans. Anyway, back to
but I think that it gives me those sort of vibes. All these guys were also ex-military. They were technically out of the service, and they were being paid by
the CIA.
The CIA, I almost said the FBI, the CIA, to be security. I like the dynamic between the CIA and the meathead soldiers.
The GRS team and the CIA.
Yeah, because they do not like each other at all.
Yeah.
The CIA guys are sort of these white, soft-handed, pasty-faced bureaucrats.
Yeah.
But the soldiers are kind of meatheads. And so the CIA guys think they're not smart, and the GRS team thinks they're not experienced and tough and stuff like that. So it's
one of my favorite scenes in the movie is when the head of the GRS team or the contractors, Tyrone Woods, they call him Roan. He unfortunately is one of the guys who gets killed. However, he goes up and eventually tells the chief, "You're in my world now. You're taking my orders." Because the chief's still like, "We don't have to be here. We need to get out of here." He's like, "No, man, we got to stay behind and protect these people." So yeah, I think that just goes back to the theme, of doing the right thing, even though you don't have to, or if it's not the popular thing to do. I think that's the primary.
I think that's the theme. It's a very heroic theme, and I think we should just take a moment and recognize the heroism of these real life people who are still alive.
Yeah,
by the way.
It told us what they're doing. One of them's like an insurance adjuster.
Yeah, it's funny.
He talks about it in the movie.
They made a reference.
He's like, he's like, I just want to get back and be an insurance adjuster.
No,
what does he say?
He said, if you make one more mess up, then you're done. I'm sure you'll be happy at home being an insurance adjuster.
Oh yeah, because
it was an insult actually, but it's real. It was kind of funny. But I think we gotta just recognize the sacrifice that these incredibly talented and dedicated individuals made. Their heroism in this situation is something that most people could never ever do, and we have so much to thank them for. People like them who put their lives on the line and lost their lives so that we can be sitting here in this comfortable room making a podcast. So I think it's really important
that leads me back to this can be another positive of the movie for me is that I think it does a great job of memorializing. I
agree with that.
Especially at the end, you have these really cool just slow-mo shots and these great shots of them getting on the plane, and even the CIA chief at the end just has respect for these guys. They've had this antagonistic relationship throughout the whole movie, but he finally comes to have that respect.
I'm proud to know Americans like you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and it's just a great line. But and it obviously tells us what happened to each of these guys. But it says it alludes to the fact that the two GRS team members who died, Roan and Doherty, they were actually given. I think they were all given some kind of medal. Yeah, but those two guys were on the two of the stars on the CIA board that it was showing at the end. So I just think it did a great job of memorializing the event.
Yes, it absolutely was.
And showing how brave these guys were,
I think this is one of those movies that got out of the way and didn't do any messaging, just showed you the story. It was like, boom, here's the story. We're not going to preach at you and how to feel about it.
That's one of the reasons I think it's a good movie for Michael Bay. He usually just does cheesy fictional movies, and some of them are okay, like The Rock. I do like The Rock. But this movie is about something that really happened. And Michael Bay applies. You can still see a lot of Michael Bay-isms. There's a lot of kind of corny jokes between the guys. But since these guys were real, it's a bit more believable. It's not like between these fictional characters that are just completely ridiculous.
It's definitely the best Michael Bay movie by far.
Oh yeah, it's better than The Rock.
By far, because this movie is good.
Yeah.
And Michael Bay movies suck. Yeah. So sorry, Michael Bay.
We'll probably do Pearl Harbor at some point just to bash on it. He's never seen Pearl Harbor.
Do we have to, though?
I think Noah's seen it. Noah said he's seen it.
I'll watch The Room instead.
Oh my word. Anyway, but do you have any other themes to add?
No, I think that's the great theme. Is doing the right thing, and you hit the nail on the head with that one.
So you were talking about how it compares to how it's very similar to Black Hawk Down.
Yeah, that's right.
So which one? How would you compare the two? Which
I think
one
this
do you
one's
like
better than
more?
Black Hawk Down.
Okay.
I do like. I think that. Oh crap! We're about to run out of battery here, aren't we? Okay, we have a second. So, I think that my opinion on that is personal preference. I think objectively the movies are very comparable. I like this one just a tad more, and I can't exactly say why. I just do a little.
They're
bit.
both phenomenal.
Maybe it's because it's the more modern cinematography and camera. It's just a little bit clearer to see.
Yeah, I think the acting in this is better.
Yeah, and
I think you get to know the characters a little bit more than you do in Black Hawk Down.
And so, but not to say that Black Hawk Down is a bad movie because it really isn't.
If it's directed by Ridley Scott, you can't say it's bad.
Dude, and Ridley Scott is a better director than Michael Bay.
Oh, yes.
Like
Michael Bay is not a great director.
He's not a good director. Although I haven't seen his latest movie, Ambulance.
Yeah, I've heard that about that one.
I don't know if that one's good or not.
But this man will be able to brag about Ridley Scott again when we do Kingdom of
Yeah, Ridley Scott's like it's funny.
And Gladiator.
Yeah, I thought some. So really, I don't know. Ridley Scott's a great director. It cannot be denied.
Anyway.
Even though, anyway.
We can save that for when we review another Ridley Scott film.
So historical type discussions and stuff.
Oh yeah. So I did a little bit of research on the history, and in terms of inaccuracies, there's not many. They stayed true to the essence of the story. It is based on a nonfiction book, so it makes sense that the movie is rather accurate. It's not like based on a novel about the event or anything. It's based on a nonfiction book called 13 Hours.
Was it written by one of the team members?
No, but I do think they incorporated information from the memoirs of the team members as well.
That's good.
However, there's a hotly debated kind of supposed inaccuracy in the movie. So in the movie, as I said earlier, the station chief, the CIA station chief, he gives them a stand down order and does not. He does not want them to go out. Yet anyway, they disobey his order and they go in. It's hotly debated about whether this actually happened and whether he actually gave the stand down order. He claims he's unnamed. He's kind of his name is not known. But he claims that he never gave a stand-down order and said that they were good to go in from the start. However, there's many sources and people that say that he did give a stand-down order, and it's really not known. I think even one of the GRS team members, I believe it was Tonto. He's the guy in the movie that was wearing shorts the whole movie. He's from the Army. He says that the guy gave him a stand-down order. So we'll probably never know, but that it's a hotly debated topic about whether there was a stand-down order.
That's very interesting. I wonder. Probably seems more likely that he did, seeing as how the only person that you said denied it was him.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know if he's the only one. I mean, I think he has supporters and stuff on his side. But I was just saying, even one of the GRS team members says that he did it. One of the ones that obviously lived. But yeah, and obviously, I mean, with history, you can talk about how when this event happened, there's a lot of controversy regarding whether the president and then President Obama and then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton responded properly.
There's a lot of controversy about that, and the movie doesn't really. It only dips its toe into that. It references it, and it's like, oh, well, where's our government? Why won't our government pick up the phone? But it's really right, because, they didn't pick up the phone, and I don't know why.
I mean, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Yeah.
I had this scene, 2-second scene where, the F-16s are just sitting in the bay, just waiting. And it just makes me wonder, you spent all this time designing these F-16, all these weaponry, all this infrastructure. Isn't this the one thing that you made the entire military infrastructure for, was to respond to events like this? And they're like, nah, we'll just let it sit here. Mm-hmm. Bureaucracy.
Yeah. I do think the movie, although it doesn't allude too much to that aspect of how the president and the Secretary of State responded, it does follow all these different units that were in the area, or very general area, that were attempting to respond.
All the dudes who went in the movie were told not to go. And like
they're-
even the second JSOC operator team that arrived on the scene later on, they were told not to go.
The ones that were like, here's the cavalry or whatever.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the leader of that team is the second one who died, besides Rome.
You know, just total hero for going in there.
I mean, he just showed up
Total
and
hero.
And then there's obviously, just to go more on the hero. There's the guy that basically has his hand almost blown off, and fortunately he was able to recover the use of it later through, I guess, medical procedures.
Yeah, it said that the Secretary of Defense re-enlisted him in the army to get him better medical care.
He's the sniper in the movie, and he's a
big old dude.
Yes,
Dude, he is a tough dude.
Oz, I think is his name.
But so frustrating. Just that they didn't get any support. The infrastructure was there.
Thankfully, they did get what little support they got from that squad to be able to. And from the Feb 17, who, by the way, the Feb 17s are these they're allied. They're these like Libyan units that are allied with the Americans.
Yeah, so
thankfully they come.
I was about
to
say
end
the freaking Libyans were the ones that saved them.
Yeah.
And like they even make this comment at the end. It's like when they get picked up by this C-130, it's like Libyan transport. No U.S. people here still. They literally got taken out of there by, what are they called?
Feb 17.
By Feb 17, the Libyans, and then taken out on a Libyan plane. Like, that is just so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But one of the... Yeah. But I love, speaking of the guy that almost loses his hand, he has an epic line though too. He's like, I walked into this country. They're trying to like put him on a stretcher. He's like, I walked into this country. I'm walking out, man.
Dude,
it's a good line.
I thought that all these dudes died. I thought that everyone got killed.
Yeah, he'd never seen this. I had just seen
I thought everyone got killed. Just like you might have heard on our Braveheart episode.
Like
I thought that Mel Gibson was going to say mercy. I thought everybody died in this movie, and so when
it's very Alamo-like, but it's that they do.
But when the Libyans pulled up, and the dude was like.
In fact, the guy actually I was that's like the code signal.
I was like.
The guy, but it's actually, speaking of it's very like the Alamo. However, most of them survive. They don't all get killed. They actually reference that. He's like, I'm tired of this 2012 Alamo crap.
Yeah.
It's like there are some like I said, Michael Bay is known for having a lot of corny jokes in his movies.
Yeah.
And there are some here, but they actually, since these real life people are saying them, they kind of come across a little bit more believably. Like, you can believe them a little bit more. Like, there's a funny one where the guy's like, I could kill some pancakes right now with some butter and some bacon. Like, they come across.
I bet they were so hungry.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Holding out for 13 hours.
Yeah.
Dude, crazy.
Another historical, I don't know if you call it historical actually, but a hotly debated aspect of the movie is whether or not air support was in the movie air support they call on air support, but
like they didn't even ask them to drop bombs. They were like, just fly really low and scare them, please.
Yeah, she doesn't say that though. She says something.
Yeah,
but I mean, that's what I would be saying.
But yeah, the language in this movie, like if you don't let a small child watch this movie, because they drop the F-bomb like every 2 seconds until you can't even hear it. You know what I mean? Like it's just like a filler where they F it up.
I mean, what else are you gonna? I mean, you're under an assault and you're like.
No, I get it. I'm just acknowledging.
Oh
that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
As far as like weapons and armament, which is my thing, I'm not a.
Yeah, I wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
I mean, like I'm not a modern army. Like as I prefaced last time, I'm not an expert. I have no credentials, but I know an AR from an AK. Okay. One thing that comes to mind. This isn't really like a pick with the movie, but like. How and why did the Soviet Union make so many AK-47s? Because there are so many.
I know, right?
It seems like for every they can there's just an infinite supply.
It's kind of like that's like the cheap gun that people can just.
I know, but it's so good. Though.
I know
the gun is so good. Yeah. Like stupid. Soviet
that's what the
Union.
Somalians all have in Black Hawk Down. That's what all these Libyan guys have,
and they all have AK-47s. It's like, how did you all get AK? Like the Soviet Union's like, we're gonna make 10 million AK-47s. It's like, sir, we don't have that many soldiers. Just make them. And then, like, there's so many rounds. Like,
well, that's funny because this is alluding to another movie, but in Enemy at the Gates, I know you've seen that. Yeah. At the beginning, they send a bunch of guys without any guns.
No
guns.
Like the actual Soviet Union didn't have any guns, yet they supplied the entire
I don't know if that was accurate,
insurgency. You know, like the whole war on terror, like the whole war, like if there were no AK-47s, if we lived in a world where no AK-47 had ever been manufactured, would the war on terror have ever happened? Like,
Probably not.
they would have just like they just. Oh, by the way, here's an interesting little fact. RPG does not stand for rocket propelled grenade.
Really?
Did you know that?
Why is it no?
Yeah, so it's actually the Russian designation for that weapon.
Yeah.
So it's so those weapons you saw, the shoulder fired rocket.
Is it an abbreviation for like
It's an
one
abbreviation.
word?
No, so it's three Russian
Some
words.
Russian
I
words?
don't remember the Russian
Okay,
words,
yeah.
but the Russian roughly translates to shoulder fired anti-tank rocket.
Okay.
And so rocket propelled grenade is just like a common, like, I guess somebody just looked at it and was like, ooh, rocket propelled grenade, that makes sense. And like that works fine. But just, for your information, the RPG-7, which is the
That's actually a
Soviet,
fun fact.
yeah, the Soviet, the Soviet
Yeah.
just manufactured, anti-tank weapon that's commonly
Yeah.
used in the Middle East by ISIS and Al Qaeda is not it does not stand for rocket propelled.
But speaking of all the weapons and firepower that's in this movie, because there's a lot of it. Every time they would be getting like those forces that were in the surrounding areas would be getting revved up. You were getting so pumped up, and I knew you were going to be disappointed a little bit because they don't actually ever come into battle.
Oh, you mean? Oh, yeah.
You kept on getting pumped up.
I got
and I was
pumped up
like, you're
because-
going to be disappointed.
Because there was a whole JSOC team that got on a freaking Chinook helicopter and then just like flew to nowhere. Like, where did they even go?
I know, but I mean, they had to.
It was like JSOC
Yeah.
Special
That's what
Operations
happened.
Command. They all loading up on this big old
That's what
Chinook
happened.
helicopter.
Yeah.
Nothing
But
happened.
back to the
Where did they go?
But back to the air support. It's controversial, and it's not really known whether there's different people that were involved with the event say different things. It's not really clear on whether air support was actually kind of denied or not. There's like with the whole base chief giving the stand down order, it's kind of debated. So in the movie, obviously, it's portrayed as they're kind of denied any air support.
How did they get
for
so
the
much
most part.
ammo in Libya too? Like,
Yeah.
who's like?
Like the
who is-
Libya, how did the Libyans get all?
Yeah, like who? What company in Libya is manufacturing?
Well, it's implied at the beginning. It states that Libya, at the time of the movie, at the time the event takes place in 2012, it was just a bunch of like militia groups that had.
Oh
kind
yeah,
of were
yeah.
running
There
the
was
city.
turf wars going
Yeah.
on and everything, and these it is a huge mess that the United States got into with the war on terror.
Mhm.
It was an incredibly tough battle
Yeah.
for these men, and honestly, with World War II faded away, and with the Korean and Vietnam War, in our elderly population, the next generation of war fighters are going to be the veterans of the war on terror.
Yeah.
I
And
hear,
you could throw the Gulf War in there.
there's the Gulf War in there, but that kind of gets thrown into the same sort of deal there, like with these
Yeah.
wars fought to preserve the democracy of, I use air quotes because they failed, not because I don't think that the American government was trying to instill democracy in these countries. You'll run into people, like I've had debates with people online who are like, the Americans were just there for oil. Which I get where that thought process comes from. I do. I understand. But also, we didn't take a lot of the oil. And we spent a lot of money in those countries. It doesn't really add up, in my opinion, because we lost way more than we gained. And we also just pulled out of the country. So I really do believe that the United States had the best interests of these countries in mind. Now, whether or not they accomplished the best interests of these countries, that's a different discussion.
The oil thing, that also applied. Like that was considered one of the main goals when they invaded or when they defended Kuwait from Saddam Hussein. There's actually a really good movie called Jarhead that's about the Gulf War. It follows this one Marine's story. He was a real Marine. It's based on his autobiography. But and it's actually about the Gulf War, and it talks a lot about how they never really took it back. It didn't really have anything to do with oil. They were just wanting to suppress Saddam Hussein.
And
keep
a lot
it
of these proponents of the oil theory don't seem to have their historical their facts straight. Like I was once speaking with a gentleman who claimed that he claimed that we were involved in the war on terror for oil, but then in the same breath he also claimed that the Americans were on the same side as the Nazis fighting the Soviet Union. And I was like, just wait a second here, because the last history book that I read said that we actually supplied millions and millions of dollars of fighter air superiority aircraft to the Soviet Union to fight the Nazis.
Yeah.
So anyway,
and anything else to add to the history behind this movie?
So like it was kind of interesting. This is just a little side note because these dudes were ex-military people, and so they would just literally wear like their body armor and helmets and nods.
Yeah,
with
they look pretty
jeans
epic in
and
the movie.
t-shirts.
I'm not gonna lie, they look
Which is
pretty
kind of
cool.
funny. I mean, I guess there's nothing wrong with that because it's not like you're gonna blend in.
Honestly, though, speaking of, this is another positive of the movie for me. I like how instead of like I'll set this up. So the scene when they've taken up their defensive positions around the CIA base and they're coming in through what they call zombie land, which is like kind of the back door area. This is kind of wilderness, sheep-ridden area. And I love how it has all this dialogue between the soldiers about like, okay, well, we gotta be clear to attack. We can't. In some movies, it would just have them start lighting them up as soon as they come on the screen.
Honestly,
I love how it has the dialogue between them about, okay, we gotta coordinate about how we're gonna do this.
Like, it's true, the United States government and the armed forces have been really hamstrung by their morals, basically, because we don't open fire. Our soldiers don't open fire on people unless they have
like in the
weapons.
movie, the sniper's like, show me a gun.
Show me a gun, show me a gun, show me a gun, because he knows that 90% sure this guy is up to no good. And
but if he kills him and it doesn't end up being a
then
bad guy, he could get in trouble.
Yeah, and not only, also, it would just be really wrong. And it's a tactical disadvantage because they couldn't shoot this guy who just had a phone and ended up pinging coordinates for artillery, to hit their position.
Which ended up killing
two
one of the guys.
Dudes,
two of them,
So
definitely Roan, he got killed by this.
Yeah, and so they couldn't really, they're hamstrung in that regard, fighting with one hand tied behind their back in a sense, because the insurgents, they saw an American and it was just like...
they didn't have any rules of war.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like in The Patriot. Would you like a lesson in the rules of war?
Yeah. These insurgents, man, they're so brave. Like you have to give them some credit. Like they are seriously brave. Like they would run it.
They just like run into fire.
And would just get clawed up.
I mean, you can't really say they were great fighters, but bravery doesn't always mean you were actually a good fighter.
No,
I mean,
these
they were brave, but kind of for the wrong reasons.
They just sort of they would just keep coming though, man.
And it's also, obviously with history, it took place on September 11th, 2012. It would have been the 11th anniversary of 9/11. So that's obviously there was some planning around that day. It didn't just happen on that day.
So full of hate for the American people.
It didn't just happen on that day
And the conflict goes all the way back to the Crusades, honestly, which we'll review, the movie about the Crusades, and I'll have much more to say about that.
Yes, this man will have a full deep dive for us on
the
that.
Crusades, yes. And so, but this is, this featured a lot of locations that, were vital to the Crusades. The biggest among them being Tripoli.
Yeah.
Which was a large theater of crusading warfare.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so we're going to move on to final thoughts about the movie?
Final thoughts.
You can go first.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I think as for a rating for this movie, I would give this a solid 8 out of 10.
I agree with that. I'll just go with 8.
Okay. So I think it's a pretty good directing effort from Michael Bay, which isn't very typical for him. He usually does these cheesy movies. I think he hit it, but he hit the mark with this one. It has good acting. I know you said you didn't like. You didn't say you didn't like the action in this movie. You said Michael Bay's action.
Just Michael Bay's
action. In this movie, the action and the combat scenes are very well done to me.
Actually good.
The only negative, there's a few negatives. You have the shaky cams overused a little bit too much, and we talked about those. But overall, there's a lot more positives to this movie than negatives.
That's true.
In summary, I'd just say it's a great memorialization of this kind of really tragic event in American history.
I agree with that.
8 out of 10.
We gotta do a bad movie next.
Yeah.
So we can just tear it to shreds. Mm-hmm. That'll get us the views.
Pearl Harbor would be a good one to do. That would be history, but we can tear it apart.
Not that we need views because we already have so many views that I gotta go call YouTube after this so that I can get my silver and gold plaque.
Anyway, so what are your final thoughts?
It was good. Yeah, it was good. I love military movies. What dude doesn't like a good war movie? Honestly,
Like this guy just gets pumped up when a guy gets lit up. I like that. You'd be like,
oh yeah, 'cause, like
there's some cool impacts in this movie. Like it shows these guys getting lit up in the head.
like I watched John Wick yesterday because my brother was just raving about it, and this is better than John Wick. I like military better than like spy assassin type stuff. So this is better. I like the special operators. They're just so cool.
Yeah, what would you tell people who haven't seen this movie?
Like whether to watch it or not?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Watch this movie. Like, I think we've gotten away, just like on a more like a philosophical note, we've gotten away from giving our full attention to movies. Like you see so much people like put on a movie and then like do their phone at the same time and like pay half attention. Like sit down and watch the dang movie for a change. Like me and John do. We're such heroes, aren't we? Just advocating for the actual watching of movies. So anyway, 8 out of 10, good movie. Look out for our next. First of all.
Oh my word! Oh,
what?
So I just have to kind of say something real quick.
Sure.
All right, so we're talking about how Michael Bay is like this is like his one good movie.
Yeah.
Okay. It reminds me so much of a guy named Roland Emmerich. Okay, this guy has directed movies like Independence Day and these cheesy big sci-fi epics.
Yeah.
And in the middle of his filmography, he has a movie called The Patriot.
Oh,
and it's just his one good movie.
So
when we review The Patriot, we'll be able to talk about how that's like his one good movie. He just has this amazing movie right in the middle of his filmography, and everything else is sci-fi garbage. I mean, I'm just not a big sci-fi.
The original Independence Day is pretty good.
I've only seen parts of it, but
the new Independence Day
Resurgence
sucks worse.
I haven't seen that one.
It sucks harder than like.
I've only seen parts of the first one.
I don't even know. Like
anyway.
If you got like the best flavor of lollipop ever, this like and we're just going to town on that thing, this thing would still suck more.
Yeah. Anyway, I just think that Roland Emmerich and Michael Bay are very similar. They don't have great filmographies. They just have these two really good movies right in the middle of their filmography. Because The Patriot is a very good movie as well. We'll rave about that one when we cover it. Anyway, you can finish what you were saying.
Yeah, I forget what I was talking about.
You were summing up your thoughts on the movie.
Oh yeah, so like look out for our next movie sometime next week.
Mm-hmm. When I'm going to Europe, so it'll be
keep
a couple
John
weeks.
in your prayers.
Yep.
If anyone watches this, say a quick prayer for John because he is going across the pond to Italy.
Italy, France, and England.
He'll give us an update on how all of that goes.
And when he
gets back.
Yep. We'll hopefully have. We'll be trying to coordinate with Grant and Gavin Payne. Obviously, you've seen Gavin on here before. Grant's his younger brother, who and they're hopefully going to be able to come on and review Gladiator with us.
Yes, and one of them
because they are like experts in Roman history.
Yeah, one of them's a classics major, and the other is a biblical history major.
But they're both really into Roman history.
Well, that's the thing because those coincide. So you're going to get like. Let's be honest. With us, it's just us two meatheads talking about like what we like. But this is like legit expert. Like you can watch this and actually get something out of it.
And also, eventually, we will do Kingdom of Heaven, and that's where we'll have you as the expert.
I'm a self-proclaimed expert on the Crusades.
I do. That will be a good deep dive.
I've read, Jonathan Riley Smith. I've read Christopher Tyerman. I've hit all the bases. Okay, just don't worry.
But I have some. Just be prepared for when we do Kingdom of Heaven, because I will have. I've done a little bit of research on the movie's history, and I have some inaccuracies I've found, and I would like you to verify them. But we'll save that for later.
I wish. Anyway,
we'll have to. Oh, he's got a hold of it.
All right. Bye.
See ya.